We're on to the flooring of the lower deck, and I've decided to use some coffee wood, which I have quite a bit of. It's a nice white wood, simply to give me some contrast to the frames that we use, which are made from juniper. So out to the outside shop we go to make our mess. I've been collecting coffee wood for a few years now, and recently got this lovely big piece. Most people think of coffee as a vine, but in fact long old growth coffee plantations produce a stem that can be 6 to 8 inches wide. This one is about 4 inches wide, and out of that comes some of the most marvelous, dense, very fine grain wood. And I have quite a collection, and it's the whitest wood that I've come across. Really fantastic stock to do carving with and to build models with. The Proxxon table saw with a carbide tip blade is the ideal tool to use to get this bulk stock down. And once I get the main pieces down, I go into the inner shop and use the Jim Byrnes, which is much more gentle on cutting the final width of the planks. That gives us a huge amount of stock to do the planking, much more than we need. And of course, to make sure I don't get it mixed up with anything, I have a little box that I keep all the parts so I know where everything is and don't get anything mixed up. This morning we're going to be making up the hatch frames, which are also called the coamings, and it's made up of two pieces. One is the coaming, which is 6 by 5, and the other one is the hatch ledge, which is a 5 by 5 piece. The challenge we have when we make up small pieces, particularly the 6 by 5, is very difficult to know which is the 6 and which is the 5. So to solve that problem, I take the 6-inch piece and I simply put a series of lines on it so that now I know when I cut that this side, the thickness of the opposite side will in fact be the 6-inch piece, and the part that does not have it, which would be this side, will in fact be the 5-inch piece. Then I take them and I put them in a little box that I have, and this has come about from mixing up parts from various pieces or making parts that I don't need right away, and I put them aside and then I can't find them. So I have this little box that whenever I'm making bulk stock now, or if I have parts, they all go in here and are locked away. And that means when I suddenly am looking for a piece, I can come here and find the part in the plastic case. So at this stage I have 3 boxes from various parts of the build. I suppose there could come a point in time where I'll throw away some of these. But the main box, which I've had to buy a bigger one, this would be typical of what's inside of it. Of course, if you get mixed up and you're not sure what you're doing, you can always put the caliper on it and it'll give you the answer. And I write little tags because I know I'm going to forget, and put it in the slot. That way when I start the workout, I'll know what I'm working with. So we set the height of the blade to the 3 inches, and in fact the depth, the cut of the blade is actually 2 inches. So now we can cut the pieces out. So again, we know that the striped part, so we have 5 inches height and 6 inches width. We have our little sheet that says we're cutting the 2-inch depth on the wide part, on the 6-inch, and the width we're cutting out 2 inches, and the depth out of the 5 inches part marked with the stripes. So we can simply run this through the saw. To do this, we're going to need the feather board. So we simply put the feather board on. You remember we have a piece of hardwood that I put to protect my fence. You want to put that fairly tight. And this pushes the piece down. And if we want, we can put some pressure on the side. Probably move this up a little closer to the blade. Although we probably only need 1 strip, we've made up 3. Again, this is my practice, because either I'll screw up making the hatches, or I might need more for some other reason. So I find whenever you're making up stock, it's always best to make up more than you need. You can simply throw the extra piece in the scrap pile, or put it in your box of parts to be needed at another rainy day. The first thing we do is to measure the inside length of the piece, and we're cutting the rebate, which is 2.5 inches, because remember the thickness was 5 inches. So we're taking off 2.5 inches of each piece, so that when they join, they should be flush at the frame height. Having cut the pieces out, I always struggle to get it square. So my simple method, you may have your own, is to clamp one of the ends, put a small piece, put a small drop of thick CA, because I don't want it to run everywhere. This on both sides, so make sure everything sticks. And then we line up the square, put it in place, and put the square on, and just hold it for a few minutes. Once that's done, we do the other piece separately, and then put the 2 halves together. Perfect square. And now comes the interesting time in the model where we're going to apply paint for the first time. And David gives us 3 choices for the treatment of the coamings. The first is to leave them natural, or you could even use a different color wood to accentuate the difference between the coaming and, say, the planks. Or you can paint them either black or red. I've traditionally preferred to paint red. Those are the battle colors. But it's totally possible from a practical point of view that down inside the hole, the coamings may have been painted black. No matter how much time I spend reading and trying to get these things right, must be a sign of age, but I keep screwing it up. I did get the head ledges and the coamings mixed up. So you'll see Here's the first set, and here's the second set. So that's the nature of this. That's why I write down everything in the hope that I'd get it right the first time, but inevitably it doesn't happen.